covering the life and music of pianist and composer Horace Silver. His recording activity spans 5 decades from the 50s to the 90s. This includes 307 original tunes and 103 recording projects, both as a sideman and a leader. He was one of the musicians credited for transitioning from the bebop style of pianist to the hard bop style. This hard bop style is influenced by gospel music, blues, and rock, and stresses melody rather than complex and tricky bebop lines. His compositions, therefore, are often emphasized by catchy melodies, but also sometimes contain dissonant harmonies. So, Silver was born on September 22nd, 1928 in Yarmouth, Connecticut. His mother, Gertrude, was from Connecticut. His father, John Horace Silver, was born in the Cape Verde Islands off the west coast of Africa and emigrated to the United States as a young man. Gertrude was a maid and sang in the church choir, and John worked for a car company. Horace's early musical influence the gospel church music and the folk music from the Cape Verde Islands that his father sang and played. Tonight, you will hear some of these influences mixed in with Horace's hard bop style of writing. Silver began playing the piano in his childhood and took classical music lessons. In the 9th grade, he played Lester Young-influenced tenor saxophone in the Norwalk High School band and orchestra. Silver played gigs locally on both piano and the tenor sax while still in school. He was rejected for military service by a draft board examination that concluded that he had a curved spine, which also hindered his saxophone playing, hence his decision to focus on piano. Around 1946, he and his friends formed a trio in Hartford, Connecticut, to take a regular gig in a nightclub. Silver's big break came in 1950 when his trio backup saxophonist Stan Getz at the club in Hartford. Getz liked Silver's band and recruited him to tour with him. The saxophonist also gave Silver his recording debut on a quartet album. This collaboration lasted about 2 years, where Horace met and played with many of the greatest names in jazz, and had a number of his compositions performed and recorded by the legendary saxophonist. This experience launched Horace Silver into the New York jazz scene. Our presentation tonight will feature music chronologically from each decade of Silver's career as a band leader. We will select what we played in concerts, and we will be playing abbreviated fewer solo choruses so that we can present as many of Horace's tunes as we can. You can find many different versions of his compositions, rearranged by Horace and by other artists. But tonight, for the most part, each tune will be performed as it was originally recorded. And the changes that you hear behind me are from the tune Echo, Horace's first recording as a leader. Echo was recorded by Silver in October of '52 in a trio set at Luna Records with bassist Curly Russell and Hart Blakey. Despite the year, what Silver records isn't bebop, it's something else. There are touches of gospel, along with the topics of love of the talent of swing. Ultimately, compositions like Echo will pave the way for hard bop in the years that followed. But in 1952, it was clearly way ahead of its time from a harmonic and chromatic standpoint. By the way, there are extra bonus points for anybody who can decipher the meaning of this title. So, without any more talking, here's David Nelson and our trio with Echo. 1, 2, 1. Anybody get that title? Anybody? I know Dave knows. Nobody? Way in the back. Oh, and do you count? Yeah.
Horace backwards?
Yeah. Horace backwards. He said that was a game they used to play.
The name of his publishing company.
And the name of his publishing company. True. So, back to the program. Silver's association with Art Blakey eventually led to the formation of the Jazz Messengers in 1954. Drug use played a huge part in the life of many members of the Messengers during these years. Horace had decided that drug and alcohol use would not interfere, though, with his music career. So even though Horace states that the Messengers were one of the greatest groups he ever played with, he played with them for only a few years. The composition Nika's Dream comes from this period. It was written in tribute to jazz fan Baroness Pannonica di Koningswater, and I practiced that many times. When the Messengers were scuffling, she fronted money, bought uniforms, hosted dinners in a lavish room at the Stanhope Hotel in New York, and drove the musicians around in her Rolls Royce. Nika's Dream. One, two, 3. So, Blowing the Blues Away is one of Horace Silver's all-time Blue Note classic albums. And it's virtually impossible to dislike, states jazz critic Steve Huey. This album was recorded in 1959 after Horace had left the Jazz Messengers and uses a quintet of musicians that was together for 7 of his most productive years. The quintet included Lou Mitchell on trumpet, Junior Cook on tenor sax, Eugene Taylor on bass, and Louis Hayes on drums. We're going to cover a gospel-inspired Sister Sadie from that album. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. From the live album, Doing the Thing, comes the tune Filthy McNasty. This is more of a rock shuffle-oriented tune recorded in 1961. This album has the same players as Blowin' the Blues Away, except for Roy Brooks replaces Lewis Hayes on drums. And I am going to let Horace Silver himself introduce this tune. Here we go.
We'd like to inform you, those of you who just came in, we're recording up here this evening, live, we hope, from the Village Gate. We'd like for you all to help us get in the groove. Let your hair down and come on and get in the music with us. We would like to do for you at this time a brand new composition of ours, written about a mythical young man of rather dubious character. We'd like to have you all join in with us on this one and help us find the groove by patting your feet, or pumping your fingers, or clapping your hands, or shaking your heads, or shaking whatever else you want to shake. While we do a little thing we call Filthy McNasty.
1, 2, 3. Thank you. So this lineup of musicians during the period from 1958 to 1964 recorded arguably some of Silver's best music, and if not the best, definitely the most popular. 8 albums were recorded with this group, including Silver's Serenade in 1963, We're going to play the title track. The eighth and last album recorded with this famous quintet. If I can find it. includes what may be Silver's best-known composition, Song for My Father. Silver's mother Gertrude had died when he was a child, so with the help of an aunt, his father had raised him. The father was strict, but always supported his son's interest in music. This tribute to his dad was written without a conscious effort to reference the music from the Cape Verde Islands his father had played and sung for him as a child. However, after listening back to his recording, Horace could not help but notice an echo of those vocals in his melody. This familiar song has been recorded by many artists and provided Horace with a royalty income that helped him support him for the rest of his life. You might remember Steely Dan's song to this. Silver decided in 1993 to re-record Song for My Father with lyrics that he had written. We're going to break away from performing the original version of some songs by using these lyrics that he wrote, but from a recording by Dee Dee Brickwater. There we go. On her tribute album, Horace Silver, Love and Peace. And to help us perform this version, my lovely wife,
It's been a song from my father, the streets that no one can do. And doesn't get to you. It has a rhythm and rhyme that will fast in his memory in time. As
So, in the 1970s, Horace became very interested in spiritualism of all kinds. His album, The United States of Mind, recorded in 1970, included song titles such as The Happy Medium, That Healing Feeling, Permit Me to Introduce You to Yourself, and Wipe Away the Devil. Critics described the lyrics that Silver was beginning to use as too preachy. Blue Note asked him to give up this line of work and go back to his usual thing. But to his credit, Silver had to stand his ground to finish the project. But this came at a price. Suddenly, an artist who had been one of the most successful in the jazz field had to fight to make his next album. Peace is a pivotal work from this album. It began way back in 1959 with the Jazz Messengers. According to Silver, I was doodling around on the piano and it just came to me. But I also had the impression that there was an angel standing over me, impressing my mind with this beautiful melody and harmony. Unlike most popular Silver compositions, Peace is a slow ballad. You won't find a single catchy melodic motif here, no surprising interlude, and no harmonic shift that takes the piece in an unexpected direction. Instead, this song cycles through a series of gently resolving chords. This 1970 version of Peace was re-recorded on this album with new lyrics that he had written and interpreted by the singer Andy Bay, and in turn, here by Debbie. Peace.
There's a place that I go where the sycamores grow and daffodils have their fun, where the cares of the day seem to slowly fade away in the glow of the evening sun. Peace when the day is done. If I go there really, let my mind meditate on everything to be done. If I search deep inside, let my conscience be my guide, then the answers are sure to come. Don't have to worry, love. Life's sweet seed when it grows like a big yellow rose can wither and come undone. But that sweet smelling thing will be blossoming next spring with a kiss of the midday sun. Living has just begun. When you find peace of mind, leave your worries behind. Don't say that it can't be done. With a new point of view, life's true meaning comes to you, and the freedom you seek is one. Peace is for everyone. Peace is for everyone.
Horace took his music career very seriously. Drugs and alcohol were not a part of that role for him. He had also realized early on that his music career would make a serious personal relationship extremely difficult. He stated many times that music was his mistress. However, in 1968, he met Barbara Jean Dove. They were married 2 years later. At the end of 1970, Silver broke up the band he was working with at the time to concentrate on composing and to spend more time with his wife. He had taken his wedding vows as seriously as his music. In 1972, his son Gregory was born. With a new quintet, including the young Record brothers, Michael and Randy on tenor and trumpet, Bob Crenshaw on bass, and Mickey Roker on drums, he recorded the tune Gregory Is Here on the album The 27th Man. Despite a divorce from Barbara, Horace kept a close relationship with his son. Whenever his schedule allowed, he took joint custody, and despite some rocky times, remained close to Gregory. He also supported his son's venture into the world of music as a rap artist going by the name of G. Wise. In any case, here is Gregory Is Here. After 5 years of marriage, it became apparent that a music career and a relationship like that are hard to manage. He tried to divide his energy between his wife, his son, and his music. He had moved to Southern California to be in a more stable environment, away from the New York scene. As he stated, we could never agree on anything, especially about how to raise our son. Horace was a strict disciplinarian, much like his father. Their divorce in 1975 was a real blow to Horace. Out of this experience comes the tune Barbara. The tune shifts back and forth between these twisted sounding flat 9 sharp 11th chords and then fresh sounding major 7th chords. Barbara comes from the album Silver and Brass. This album also came at a time when Horace had become interested in writing for larger groups. This album uses 11 musicians, so you'll have to use your imagination here as we shift our instrumentation to try to cover this tune. And my apologies to the real flute player back there, Sandy. Okay? Are you going to be scoring? anybody searching for recordings from Horace Silver during the decade of the 80s is going to have a hard time. After his conflicts with Blue Note Records regarding the direction his music was taking, he started his own record label in 1980, Silvetto Productions. 5 records were produced from 81 to 88. He continued his expression of spiritualism and personal growth and discovery through his music, using the standard quintet instrumentation as well as with larger groups and vocals, both sung and spoken. The record sold well at his live performances, but the problem was with the distributors. Large distributors didn't want to be bothered with such a small operation. So actual copies of these recordings are extremely difficult to find these days, and only thanks to the internet could I find any samples at all to transcribe. We're going to cover a tune using the standard quintet instrumentation from his '83 album, Spiritualizing the Senses, using Bobby Shue on trumpet, Eddie Harris and Ralph Moore on tenor, Bob Mays on bass, and Carl Burnett on drums. Here is Seeing with Perception. One, 2, 3. Horace gave up on Silver Productions in 1991, and through the rest of this decade, until his last recording in 1998, he settled into a more standard repertoire, which seemed to indicate that he had accomplished what he had achieved in his career as a composer, and was now willing to look back and celebrate the legacy of this hard bop genre of music. Horace gave up performing and recording at the end of the 90s, and only played once in public after that. In 2007, it was revealed that Silver had Alzheimer's disease. He passed in 2014 at the age of 86 from natural causes. From an album, one of the last that he recorded in 1996, Horace seems to sum it all up by titling it The Hard Bop Grand Pop. This album uses an all-star group consisting of Claudio Ladetti on trumpet, Michael Breffer on tenor sax, Steve Turane on trombone, Ronnie Huber on bari sax, Ron Carter on bass, and Louis Nash on drums. We're going to finish tonight with that title track. Also, Debbie, I would like to play this. Thanks to the choreographer to let us use this facility. And the jazz president who puts this on, especially those that I see here every time I come. Sandy back there selling the items. Thank you, Bill, for all your help. And also, especially Bill Rizama, who's not here with us. Most of all, thanks to all of you for being a great audience and coming out to support live music. It's especially great to see young people in the audience. Many I know are amazing violin players who've been here all night. To see you learn about where this music has come from will allow you to be better players. So I'm sorry, I'm going to take this music to a place that I can't even imagine. So if you enjoyed this tonight, I encourage you to explore more for the Silver's music. It's easy to find. If I could do it, anybody can do it. And if you would like to go read, most of my information came from this autograph. That's from the it's full of pictures, just recollections of great stories of all the various musicians that he's worked with. Personal stories as well. I'll have to apologize for my bringing off in this script tonight. I'm not a public speaker by trade. I didn't want to forget anything or anybody. So as we close out this last chorus, again, thank you very much for coming out tonight.
Thank you once again to Steve and the band. You got awesome away. Hey, I just want to say that, if you're a first time, if this is your first exposure to Horace Silver, like dig in, like Steve said. We have wonderful resources here at the library. They actually have a CD collection here. And even if you can't find it here, if you go online, it might be at another branch of the library, and you can reserve it. So it's a great way to check stuff out. I will go online on the Jazz Stars on Facebook page tonight, and I'll put the set list up. So that way, if there was something cool you want to check out again, you can remember what it was called. And, anyway, thank you for coming. We'll see you next month for another great presentation. I can't remember what it's about. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you.
For me to write a book. It was for my get down to brass tacks. Is it your band?
Oh, I forgot to tell you, you can't leave unless you take a cookie. Because I'm not taking a cookie.